I was weaned on venom, Dalt. Any viper takes a bite of me will rue it. Hey lovers of Westeros, Ashley of Noth here. House Dayne is easily one of the most intriguing families in A Song of Ice and Fire, mostly because we know so little about it. Most of what we do know focuses on two of its members, Ser Arthur Dayne, Sword of the Morning, one of the greatest swordsmen to ever live, and Lady Ashara, Arthur's younger sister, and the one-time rumored love interest of Eddard Stark. Neither of these two are the focus of this video, though. We'll be focusing instead on a third member of this family, Ser Gerold Dayne, aka the Darkstar. Gerold Dayne is a books-only character, so for those who only watched the show or haven't seen any of the other videos where I've talked about him, here's some background. While we don't know exactly how Ser Gerold is related to Ser Arthur and Lady Ashara, oh, wait a minute, we do know that they're cousins, we just don't know specifically how they're cousins. If you were to check their A Wiki of Ice and Fire profiles, the profiles are very sparsely populated. They include some unnamed characters, and then poor Ser Gerold is just there. There aren't any lines showing how he connects or relates to anybody else in that family. All we know is what Ser Gerold tells us, and he said they're cousins. Something else we know is that there are two groups of Daynes in Dorne. The Daynes of Starfall and the Daynes of High Hermitage. Gerold is of the High Hermitage Daynes. He holds the station of Knight of High Hermitage, a title held by whomever is head of the High Hermitage Daynes. The Darkstar is in his mid to late 20s and said to be very, very handsome, the most beautiful man in Dorne. He's clean-shaven, has high cheekbones, a strong jaw, and dark purple eyes. His hair is collar-length, thick and silver with a streak of midnight black. Extreme good looks notwithstanding, the Darkstar is a brutal man with angry eyes. Of his personality, we know he can be cruel. According to Dorian Martell, the Darkstar is the most dangerous man in Dorne, though that statement is likely referencing a political threat, not a physical one. Damon Sand says the Darkstar is more viper than Oberyn ever was, that Oberyn referred to the Darkstar's poison repeatedly and says it's a pity that Oberyn never killed him. We also know that Ser Gerold is a jealous man, as he laments that Ser Arthur is the only Dayne anybody ever remembers, even saying that his prowess as a knight was more to do with the great sword Dawn than it was to do with Ser Arthur himself. Now, as low as that comment was, I have to tell you guys, there is a tinge of legitimacy to that. According to a So Spake Martin interview, when George was asked in their primes who would win a fight, Ser Arthur Dayne or Barristan Selmy, George answered that if Ser Arthur had Dawn, then Arthur would win. However, if he did not have Dawn and he and Barristan were equally armed, then it would be a toss-up. So it does appear that Dawn gives some sort of competitive advantage to whomever wields it. Now, that's not to say that Ser Arthur is a slouch, like Ser Gerold is kind of implying. We know that that's not the case. However, it does appear that Dawn does give whoever wields it an advantage. Even a man as skilled and as great of a warrior as Ser Arthur. Now that we've laid the foundation, let's build the house. I'd like to connect some dots and explore where I think Ser Gerold's story is going. But before I can do that, I have to explain a few things because the show didn't include them. In A Feast for Crows, the Darkstar is part of a Dornish Conspiracy, of which there are many. Prince Doran has a daughter, Arianne, who suspects her father is conspiring with her brother Quentyn to usurp Arianne as Doran's heir. Remember, in Dorne, inheritance customs are different. It goes in order of birth, regardless of gender, so a girl can inherit before her younger brothers. As the eldest child of Prince Doran, Arianne is by rights the future ruler of Dorne. Anywho, to thwart the perceived conspiracy against her, Arianne responds with a conspiracy of her own. She's also, of course, motivated by vengeance for her uncle Oberyn and Aunt Elia, and wanting to free her imprisoned cousin's sand snakes, but rest assured her birthright is at the forefront of her mind. But back to the conspiracy itself. Arianne wants to crown Myrcella as Queen of Westeros based on Dornish inheritance law, therein causing a war with the Iron Throne and Myrcella's brother King Tommen, and effectively forcing Cersei to choose between her two children. Arianne hopes the Dornish citizens will rally to this cause with the support of the Sand Snakes, whom she also plans to free. Now, to understand this, you have to understand the political climate of Dorne at that time. There's a lot of unrest amongst the common people. They want justice for Elia, they want justice for Oberyn, and they feel like they've waited too long for it. They feel like Prince Dorian is totally incompetent and ineffectual, and the Sand Snakes are of equal opinion with them and have been very vocal about it and are warmongering. And so in Arianne's mind, if she frees them, then the common people will flock to her cause. She also believes this will make her the clear choice to replace her father, whom she intends to make a permanent prisoner at the Water Gardens, along with her brother Quentyn. Arianne enlists others in her conspiracy as well. Ser Gerold Oakheart, a member of Myrcella's Kingsguard, whom Arianne's been having an affair with, Andre Dalt, Garin, Silva Santagar, and ours truly, the Darkstar. Aerys is to smuggle Myrcella out of Sunspear after swapping her with a lookalike bedmaid Rosamund Lannister and use a stand-in for himself. Aerys is then to deliver Myrcella to Arianne and the others at the abandoned holdfast Shandystone. From there, the group will travel up the rivers Greenblood and Vaith, then continue by land to Hellholt, the seat of Valeria Sand's father. From Hellholt, Arianne plans to crown Myrcella and call her own banners. Only this plan never fully comes to fruition, and what ensues is one of the most badass scenes in any of the books. This is only going to be an overview of it, so I strongly encourage everyone to read this in A Feast for Crows if you haven't already. Anywho, once Arianne and her co-conspirators reach the Greenblood, Prince Dorian's captain of guards, Areo Hotah, followed by dozens of other guardsmen, start emerging from the boat Arianne had planned to use. Everyone has this oh shit reaction. Areo orders them to yield or die. Arianne commands her group to flee, and all hell breaks loose. Instead of fleeing, Ser Gerold Oakheart charges the guards, manages to take a few out, falls from his horse, and rises to his knees, only to come face to face with Areo. In what might be the smoothest kill in A Song of Ice and Fire, Areo removes Aerys's sword arm and, quick as a snake, takes his head with a, quote, terrible two-handed slash. Arianne collapses in shock, shaking and crying, and as all this occurs, the Darkstar moves to kill Myrcella, and he would have, but for her horse getting spooked and dodging his at the last second. His slash opened Myrcella's face to the bone and removed her right ear. Areo and his guards manage to quell the madness, but the Darkstar escapes. Areo returns Arianne and crew to Prince Dorian at Sunspear, where she is promptly imprisoned in the same tower as her cousins. Dorian's maester supposedly saves Myrcella, but she'll be permanently disfigured. Now, the million-dollar question is why the Darkstar attacked Myrcella. This forces Dorne into war with the Iron Throne before Dorne was ready for it, and the Lannisters will want retribution for Myrcella. From both perspectives, it doesn't make sense for Ser Gerold to have done this willy-nilly. He had to have not only incentive, but an expectation of protection because too many people would want him dead. And the impression that I got, and this could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but they make it seem like he just took off to High Hermitage, his castle, and he's just holed up there. Now, I have not heard that High Hermitage is that well fortified. I suppose because it's in the middle of the mountains, the landscape might provide some sort of natural fortification. But as for the castle itself, I have not heard that it's anything like Storm's End or the Eyrie or Winterfell or anything like that. I do know that Arianne seemed to think that she had to have Ser Gerold involved in this scheme because she would need his castle. However, as soon as she says that, one of the other co-conspirators pipes in and says that that's not the only castle in Dorne. So, again, in the absence of any sort of description of the castle's fortification, I would have to say it's not very practical for Ser Gerold to have just returned there and stay there, because the castle might be pretty easily taken were it stormed by either the Dornish army or the Lannisters or whoever. Well, truthfully, I don't even think he's there, but that's a whole nother story. Anywho, again, he would probably want an expectation of protection. As it happens, there is someone who could provide Gerold both things who also wants Dorne and the Lannisters at war with each other. Varys. It's my suspicion that in exchange for giving Varys what he wanted, Ser Gerold was promised a spot in Aegon's Kingsguard. I'd imagine this was contingent upon Ser Gerold's successful execution of the task, which is in part why I question the claims that Myrcella is alive. In any case, what I can say in this video is that, without question, Varys wants Westeros destabilized, and in particular, he wants the Lannisters and Martells against each other. We know this because Varys says as much and maneuvers however he needs to achieve that goal. Case in point, the A Dance with Dragons epilogue. After shooting Kevan Lannister in the chest with a crossbow, Varys tells Kevan the following. I thought the crossbow fitting. You shared so much with Lord Tywin, why not that? Your niece will think the Tyrells had you murdered, mayhaps with the connivance of the imp. The Tyrells will suspect her. Someone somewhere will find a way to blame the Dornishmen. Doubt, division, and mistrust will eat the very ground beneath your boy king, whilst Aegon raises his banner above Storm's End and the lords of the realm gather round him. Varys also tells Kevan this. You were threatening to undo all the Queen's good work, to reconcile Highgarden and Casterly Rock, bind the faith to your little king, unite the 7 kingdoms under Tommen's rule, so... Clearly, a divided Westeros is what Varys wants because it will make Aegon's conquest easier, and it can't be more divided than to have as many of the major houses warring with each other as possible. Make no mistake, Dorne wanted war with the Lannisters, but Doran was moving too slow for Varys, so he had to force the prince's hand by having Myrcella killed. Additionally, a war between the Martells and Lannisters has an extra benefit. It will force an alliance between Aegon and Dorne, an aspect the Lannisters dreaded as evidenced by Sir Kevan saying this. If Doran Martell were to join his strength to Cunnington's in support of this feigned dragon, things could go very ill for all of us. John Cunnington also recognizes the importance of a Dornish alliance, thinking, lesser lords might join their cause for fear of harm or hope of gain, but only the Prince of Dorne had the power to defy House Lannister and its allies. Above all else, we must have Doran Martell. Varys would be cognizant of that too. In absence of Daenerys, her dragons, the Unsullied army, and the Stormcrows, Dorne is Aegon's best ally, so Varys did what was necessary to force this alliance. Now that we've explained Varys' role in this, let's explain Ser Gerold's. As I stated before, I believe Varys has promised the Darkstar a place in Aegon's Kingsguard. Why would the Darkstar want this? Recall what I said of the Darkstar in the beginning of this video. He's envious of his late cousin Sir Arthur. Darkstar was introduced to Myrcella with his government name, Gerold Dayne. Myrce mentions Sir Arthur, and Gerold says, my house goes back 10,000 years unto the dawn of days. Why is it that my cousin is the only Dayne that anyone remembers? The Darkstar wants glory. He wants to be remembered in the annals of history. I don't know that he cares what he's remembered for, so long as people hear the name Dayne and think of him in addition to Sir Arthur. He kind of hints at this by intimating that no matter what he does, he'll always be Darkstar in everyone's mind, but that's his name, so why should he care? Despite that ambivalence, I think deep down he wants to compete with Arthur. A place in Aegon's Kingsguard would afford him the best chance to do this. And we know that Aegon has spots open in his Kingsguard because John Cunnington advises Aegon of the importance of keeping those cloaks available for esteemed warriors, or to be exact, warriors of great renown, whose fealty would add luster to their cause, or for the sons of great lords whose support Aegon would need in the wars to come. John confirms that 6 cloaks are available as of the end of A Dance with Dragons. So there's no reason Varys couldn't offer this as, as a trophy, as a dangling chip, and hold up his end of the deal. There's also no reason to have this dialogue about the Kingsguard if it's not going to amount to anything. Remember, George gives breadcrumbs for the really astute readers, so these minor details shouldn't be overlooked. If he mentions Aegon's Kingsguard, he wants us thinking about it. I've teased this in both my Oberyn's Secret Son video and my Quaithe Wasn't Wrong video, that Gerold being Oberyn's son helps the overall story in that it would provide an avenue for another character who's currently presumed dead to re-enter the story. Ser Gerold joining Aegon's Kingsguard is the catalyst for that. If Gerold joined Aegon's Kingsguard, this would mean he'd encounter Aegon's band of misfit toys. One of those misfit toys is Septa Lemore. If Septa Lemore is actually Ashara Dayne, who better to confirm that than her own cousin? While a part of me very much wants Ser Barristan to be the one to identify Ashara, I think a Dayne family reunion could be in the works and would happen before any sort of reunion with Ser Barristan. Overall, I have to say, Ser Gerold is one of the most intriguing characters in this story, and I think he has the potential to make a lot of things happen. So far, carrying on Oberyn's legacy, validating Quaithe, and reintroducing Ashara into the story is a brilliant start. I think Gerold could end up being one of the main antagonists in the story, and again, George R.R. Martin has done a brilliant job steadily building this complex character. I realize that nothing I've said here proves that Gerold is Oberyn's, and that remains just a theory, but for me, all the pieces fit together perfectly. The way I describe Gerold being Oberyn's son is like if you were holding a hand mirror looking at your reflection, and you dropped the mirror, and the glass shattered, and you picked up the glass, and all those pieces fit together, but you can't make them stick without the glue. That's how I describe the theory of Oberyn being Ser Gerold's father. We need that glue or confirmation from George for it to be true, but dang it, we know that the pieces really do go together. At least they do for me. If they don't for you, that's okay, but for me, I think everything makes a whole lot of sense. However, I'm more interested in your feelings about it. Let us know your thoughts and opinions down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'm Ashley of Noth. Thanks for watching.